And then JJ says, they say the people in the U.S. have to reduce their carbon footprint while allowing hundreds of thousands of illegals to invade. Makes sense. I don't think so. Yeah, I definitely agree. The fact of the matter is, well, here's the thing, all right? And we're not going to get into this a whole lot today, but who do you think is going to take better care of their, of their city or their towns than the people living there? So if you invite a bunch of people who aren't used to the area and are just moving in, because they're invited there, it's not their home. It's like inviting a guest into your house. Oftentimes, you get those annoying house guests who just want to trash everything. What are you going to do? I treat my house well. If somebody comes into my house, sometimes you get those house guests that just want to trash everything. It's sort of like that. Most of the people throwing toss on the ground aren't the people who live in the areas. They're people who moved there. All right, so this is H.G. Wells, who used to be, when I was a kid, one of my favorite authors. And it's funny because when you're a kid, you're like, these stories are warning us, aren't they? They're trying to warn us of something that's going to happen in the future. No, they're not trying to warn you. They're actually engaging in predictive programming. H.G. Wells literally wrote the book on the New World Order. I don't remember his exact quote from that, but it was basically that when the New World Order got into place, that everybody would hate it. And he was bragging about that. He tries to be a bit sneaky with this. This is from another one of his nonfiction works called Anticipations. And it says, in the ethical system of these men of the new republic, the ethical system which will dominate the world state will be shaped primarily to favor the procreation of what is fine and efficient and beautiful in humanity. In the method that nature has followed hitherto in shaping of the world, whereby weakness was prevented from propagating weakness, and cowardice and feebleness were saved from the accomplishment of their desires. The method that has only one alternative, the method that must in some cases still be called into the help of man, is death. Let me just say that sentence again. The method that must in some cases still be called into the help of man is death. He's saying, if we don't want to become weak and feeble, then we have to start killing people. So, here's just a thought here. He promises in this to only kill off cowardly people and the weak people. Yet the fact of the matter is, in his writing, you can see he predicted a much different fate for the future, and we'll get into that in a bit. But no, he wants people to be weak and feeble so that they follow the ruling elite and they do what they're told, and the ruling elite can basically just mooch off of them all they want. Whoever's left, they'll maintain the machines. And likely, what else do we know the ruling elite to want to do? Well, there's some rumors, and I would say that they're probably a little bit more than just rumors, that the ruling elite are cannibalizing us, especially children. They feed off of things that come from our blood. They literally feed off of our blood. And why did they do that? They do these blood transfusions to basically give them eternal youth. We'll go into this more when we go into our Kabbalah and transhumanism series, but the fact of the matter is, the reason why they're doing this is they're trying to stay young forever. They want to achieve immortality while we maintain our mortality and we slave to them and we become food for them. That's the only use we have, maintaining machines and basically being their food. So, he also continues by saying, in the new vision, death is no inexplicable horror, no pointless terminal terror to the miseries of life. It is the end of all the pain of life, the end of the bitterness of failure, the merciful obliteration of weak and silly and pointless things. They often call us and refer to us as useless eaters. H.G. Wells here refers to us as weak, silly, and pointless things. He won't even acknowledge that we are human. And it occurs to me that there are some people who also don't think that the average American population, or world population for that matter, is human. It sounds like H.G. Wells here is probably the one who isn't a human. And then he says, the new ethics will hold life to be a privilege and a responsibility. Your life isn't a right. You don't have you don't have a right to life, liberty, and happiness. Actually, all those things are privileges. The new ethics will hold life to be a privilege and responsibility, not a sort of night refuge for the base spirits out of the void. And the alternative and right conduct between living fully, beautifully, and efficiently will be to die. For a multitude of contemptible and silly creatures, you hear that? We're also contemptible. Fear-driven and helpless and useless, unhappy or hateful happy in the midst of squalid dishonor, feeble, ugly, inefficient, born of unrestrained lusts, and increasing and multiplying through sheer incontinence and stupidity, the men of the new republic will have little pity and less benevolence. They're making us all these things, and the fact of the matter is these are all things he called us in his own words. And it's also funny because they refer to us as hateful people. These are the people who are trying to kill everybody. They referred to us as, what was that again? Fearful, helpless, useless, unhappy, hateful, happy, living in squalid dishonor, feeble, ugly, inefficient, born of unrestrained lusts, and increasing and multiplying through sheer incontinence and stupidity. The men of the new republic will have little pity and less benevolence. Who would have guessed? To make life convenient for breeding of such people will seem to them not the most virtuous and amiable thing in the world, as it is held to be now, but an exceedingly abominable proceeding. All right, these are the people who are always caught with children and engaging in all these horrible acts and basically cheating on their partners and engaging in incest and preserving their bloodlines. How is it that we are the born of unrestrained lusts? How is it that we're the ones that are born of unrestrained lusts? And the fact of the matter is they've made our people that way. They've made our people just as sick and twisted as them. But I would say, for those people who are informed, we're not born of unrestrained lusts. Most of the people who have unrestrained lusts are that way because you put all this sex that you're selling in the media. They literally, if you want to watch something online, well, it's probably going to have sex in it. Sometimes if you're watching it from certain websites, they're going to force porn at you. Who do you think runs these websites? They charge you for porn, but they'll give it out for free. That's the one thing they give out for free, and that's probably because porn itself is a form of rat poisoning. The men of the new republic will not be squeamish, either in facing or inflicting death, because they will have a fuller sense of the possibilities of life than we possess. They will have an ideal that will make killing worth the while. Like Abraham, they will have the faith to kill. Well, that's an interesting analogy. Just like Abraham, they'll have the faith to kill or to sacrifice us to their God. The Masonic God, what do they call him? The craftsman. Yeah. And they will have no superstition about death. They will naturally regard the modest suicide of incurably melancholy or diseased or helpless persons as a high and courageous act of duty rather than a crime. So yeah, it's their duty to slaughter you. This is a funny quote, and it will come into play later because I remember there being something else that mentions it. It's a bit morbid, but you can't spell slaughter without laughter. And I'm not saying that because I'm the one laughing. I'm saying it because, have you ever considered that maybe the word slaughter is spelled with an S on top of laughter because the ruling elite are laughing at our slaughter? It's just a thought. It's a bit grim, but it's a thought. The system of this is this scientific technique in an oligarchy by Bertrand Russell. He says the system, one may surmise, will be something like this, except possibly in the governing aristocracy, all but 5% of males and 30% of females will be sterilized. So these are the people who are unsterilized. 5% of males, unsterilized. 30% of females, sterilized. So, about a third of our women won't be sterilized, and about a 20th of our men won't be sterilized. Everyone else, sterilized, unable to reproduce. And the people that they'll want to keep unsterilized, if any, are going to be the people who are most compliant. The 30% of females will be expected to spend the years from 18 to 40 in reproduction in order to secure adequate cannon fodder. As a rule, artificial insemination will be preferred to the natural method. The unsterilized, if they desire the pleasures of love, will usually have to seek them with sterilized partners. Yeah. Interesting. So, they might not sterilize you, but the fact of the matter is, if they sterilize your partner, you're not having a baby. Especially if we maintain our monogamous nature. So, if you want to have a baby at that point, you have to be willing to cheat on your wife. How do you feel about doing that? I think not. But the fact of the matter is, well, that's what they want you to do if you want to have a baby. You have to become sexually degenerate as well.